Welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Mariancho, and these are my win-loss picks for the NFC East. We're going to honor the reigning Super Bowl champions and their division. So we begin with the Eagles. They do lose Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator, but I think Vic Fangio keeps that defense elite. Maybe even if Saquon has a Madden curse, I still think Jalen Hurts will get the job done with his options and a new offensive coordinator. So let's take a look at their schedule. Let's see what happens. In week one, they get the season opener on Thursday night versus Dallas, and the Cowboys are not what they once were. An easy win for the Eagles week one, but week two, Super Bowl rematch at Kansas City. I think they would win even if the Chiefs had a regular schedule, but the Chiefs are coming off that Brazil game on Friday, the week prior, and that extra travel, the Eagles know very well from last season, can lead to a bit of grogginess. So I think they're going to be a bit fatigued, and I don't think Travis Kelce is fully ready for this game. So Eagles win week two, and then week three, Sunday morning versus the Rams. This will be a great game. Really the only team in the playoffs that gave the Eagles a big test on road to their Super Bowl victory. So this game will be entertaining, very close. I think it will be a fourth quarter comeback, though, in favor of the Eagles. I think Saquon runs all over them, just like he did last season at SoFi. This time at home, Saquon breaks open the Rams defense. Week four, Sunday morning at Tampa Bay. I think they're a little bit winded from that matchup, and I think the Bucs are ready to play. So on the road in Florida, give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for an upset. They've given the Eagles a problem, whether it's Brady or Baker. The Bucs are a tough out for Philly. So I see an L here, the first of the season, and something that kind of gets them back on track. They bolster their win total in the next coming weeks. We have Sunday morning versus Denver. I think that's a win. And then week six, Thursday night at the Giants. Giants are not ready to beat just about anyone. So that's an automatic dub. Week seven, Sunday morning at Minnesota. They're well rested here. And on the road, I don't think J.J. McCarthy is quite ready early in the season. Still October. I think the rookie essentially will have some problems in this one. So give me the Eagles. They've usually beat the Vikings. And week eight, Sunday morning versus the Giants, yet another win. That's 2 games in 3 weeks versus New York that are easy peasy. But week 9, they get a bye. So well rested going into week 10, Monday night at Green Bay. They will lock up Josh Jacobs, and Jordan Love not going to play well against that vaunted secondary in Philly. So the defense really gets it done, a win off the bye. And then week 11, Sunday night versus Detroit. I think they're a better team than the Lions, especially without the coordinators from last year. The Lions will have some hiccups. I don't think they can contain Saquon and also stop A.J. Brown along with Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. I think it's just too much firepower, a shootout that goes in favor of Philly. So at this point, we've seen 6 straight wins, 9-1, very impressive. However, often after the teams play Detroit, whether they win or lose, they often lose to their next opponent. They're going to be banged up, a bit tired, and Sunday afternoon at Dallas in division going to be a tough test. Dallas, I don't think, gets swept. They toughen up the second time around. George Pickens does play a factor in that one. So a rare L for Philly here. And then week 13, Black Friday versus Chicago. I'm actually going to give them an L. Perhaps it's an easy win, but I think Chicago will shock some teams, and they're going to play up to competition against the reigning Super Bowl champs. So I'm going to take Ben Johnson to find a way here. I think Caleb Williams has a fourth quarter comeback, and who knows, maybe Saquon does get hurt, does have some issues. Maybe Jalen Hurts goes down. He has missed some time as well. So a 2-game losing streak going into week 14, Monday night at the Chargers. They will bounce back. A win against Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh. They'll get the win there on the road at SoFi. Saquon will probably torch them like he torched the Rams last season in primetime as well. Week 15, we have Sunday morning versus Las Vegas, and the Raiders are much better this year, but not this good. I don't think they can beat the Eagles. That's a win for Philly, one more. But really, the rest of their season doesn't need to be this win heavy. It's all going to boil down to how these last 3 games go, because Washington is their only real threat in the division, and I do not see them sweeping the Commanders. They're going to have to win at least one of those 2 matchups. They also get a week 17 game at Buffalo. That's not ideal. So week 16, at the Commanders. I'm going to give it to Jaden Daniels. The Commanders always play the Eagles tough. We've seen an overtime matchup. Even with Sam Howell, the Commanders won't get swept. So a win for Washington drops them to 4 wins on the season in Philly. And I do think they bounce back. I think they beat Josh Allen week 17. Going to be a good game there, but I will take Philly. I think they have what it takes to get that dub. But week 18, this probably decides the division. And because we want a little bit of extra tension and a little bit of reasons to keep watching the video, we're going to save this prediction for the end of the Commander schedule. You can move ahead if you would like. But let's take a look at Washington's schedule. Let's see if they can even hold up with the Eagles at 12 wins heading into week 18. Week 1, I think they're getting an easy win versus the Giants. The Giants are not going to be competitive with pretty much anyone. So a win week 1. Week 2, Thursday night at Green Bay. I believe Daniels is better than Jordan Love. Jordan Love leaves a lot of questions, a lot of answers that are still not accounted for, and Josh Jacobs cannot do it all himself. So Matthew Golden might get locked up by Marshawn Lattimore, and the new acquisition won't really help much. Give me a win for the Commanders in week 2. Week 3, Sunday morning versus Las Vegas. I don't think that Chip Kelly offense will be firing on all cylinders just yet. I do trust the Commanders here. Week 3 at home, they get another win. But week 4, traveling at Atlanta, that's actually not an easy thing to do. Falcons have a good home field advantage, at least early in the regular season. So I will give the Falcons the benefit of the doubt here. The Commanders lose in week 4, and they are 3-1 to start the season. But then they travel cross country at the Chargers, and even in SoFi, I will pick them. Chargers don't really have much of a home field advantage. I think a lot of people will want to be watching Daniels more so than Herbert in that game. So a bit of a pseudo road game with probably a 50-50 split at the very least. A win in week 5. Then week 6, Monday night versus Chicago. Caleb Williams here on the slate. I think Jaden Daniels gets the better of him, wins another one. Maybe it's not a last-second Hail Mary, but I do think the Bears are not quite ready to take on Washington. So a win for Jaden Daniels. It didn't really matter who I think the Bears picked, whether Caleb was the right choice or not. I think whoever Chicago chose at quarterback would not have had as much success as whoever the Commanders got at pick 2. But this game definitely makes it look like Daniels is by far the better quarterback. Week 7, Sunday at Dallas. Cowboys just not quite there yet. A win for Dan Quinn. And then week 8, Monday night at the Chiefs. I don't think Jaden Daniels is quite ready. If the Chiefs faced the Commanders last season in the Super Bowl, it probably would have been an easy victory. Still think he's a bit too young for the moment, and Mahomes will get the better of him. I think Andy Reid going to take this game very seriously and will lock up that win for the Chiefs. So an L here for Washington. And then week 9, Sunday night versus Seattle. I don't trust Sam Darnold. I could even see Jalen Milroe as the Seahawks quarterback at that point. So I will give the Commanders a win for sure against Seattle. Week 10, we have Sunday versus Detroit, and definitely a tough test here, but the Lions have a very brutal schedule, and I don't think they're going to be quite ready for this matchup. After all, the Commanders did take care of them kind of easily in that playoff game. Lions defense has no answers. So a win for Washington. They are better than Detroit in my opinion. And then week 11, last game before their bye week, they travel to Madrid to take on Miami. So not super far when you think about it, but both teams are on the East Coast, so kind of neutral scenario. I think the red and yellow color pattern might be favored by the Spain home crowd, who probably doesn't care too much about which team is coming there, but it is a pseudo home game, and the color pattern does match the Spain flag. So let's go with the Commanders, the de facto Spanish favorite, and then another win there leads to only 2 L's on the schedule heading into week 12. So 9-2, really strong team here. And then versus Denver off the bye, I think at home with no altitude to worry about, I think they will get the best of Bo Nix. So a win there against Sean Payton. Week 14, we have Sunday morning at Minnesota, and that's a very tough environment to play in. I think J.J. McCarthy can live up to the moment. It's going to be tough to stop Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. So I think the Vikings can actually pull an upset here. The Commanders won't finish with 15 wins. They will lose one of these rando games late in the season. And this is one of the last opponents I think can actually give them a true run for their money, especially not in division here. So a loss at Minnesota, but these last 4 games in division, most of them are going to be wins. I think Sunday morning at the Giants, that's a win. I told you already, I think they do beat Philadelphia on Saturday, week 16. If they can beat Philly here, then they're in the driver's seat for the division lead, because they can actually rest their starters entirely against Dallas on Christmas morning and still be in the position where if they beat the Eagles week 18 at 13-4, they just automatically take that division title. So that's what I think will happen. And they lose to Dallas, beat Philly both times. I think the Commanders sweep, get that number 1 seed and home field advantage throughout the playoffs, as well as a playoff bye in the wildcard round. I believe the Commanders will represent the NFC as the 1 seed. So a sweep of the Eagles, week 16 and 18, maybe a Madden curse plays a factor, maybe a Super Bowl hangover, maybe just the lack of Kellen Moore does lead to Jalen Hurts not being as effective overall on offense. So I'm going to trust the Commanders here. I think they take the division, and this continues a trend that is over 20 years old where the winner of the NFC East does not repeat the following season. It does change hands every fucking year. So Commanders 13-4, Eagles 12-5. Commanders win the division. Next up, let's take a look at the Cowboys schedule. We have week 1 season opener at Philly. They get humbled real fast with Brian Schottenheimer. This offense not going to look the same. So an L week 1, Dak needs to shake off the rust, and I don't think George Pickens will love his role early in the season. The headaches will start to pile up as Pickens gets frustrated. But week 2, not going to be a problem. I think they win easily against the Giants. The Giants not competitive even with Russell Wilson. And maybe it's an upset, but usually the Cowboys torch the Giants. So on defense, they definitely get it done. Week 3, though, Sunday at Chicago, I'm taking Ben Johnson. I think it's a coaching mismatch here. I'm definitely going with the better offensive play caller. And at this point, I think Chicago will be hungry for a win. Give me an L for the Cowboys in week 3. On the road at the Bears. Week 4, we got Sunday night versus Green Bay. That's a loss yet again. The Packers gonna find a way. I trust Josh Jacobs and Jordan Love. Matt LaFleur, much better coach. And then week 5, Sunday morning at the Jets. I think this is the big wake-up call that their offense just is not producing what it needs to compete. I think they lose to the Jets here. A bit of an upset by Justin Fields. A true sound the alarm moment in Dallas. They suck at 1-4. But week 6, they bounce back at Carolina. We saw Micah Parsons really torch Bryce Young last year, and rushing the passer going to be an advantage in favor of Dallas. So a win in week 6, defense to the rescue. But week 7 versus Washington, pretty irrelevant, definitely a loss against Jaden Daniels. They might win against the Panthers, but they're not beating the Commanders. In week 8, we got Sunday afternoon at Denver, and I definitely trust Bo Nix and Sean Payton, so another L here. And week 9, Monday night versus Arizona, a true toss-up in my opinion, but at home against Kyler Murray, kind of like a smaller quarterback in Bryce Young. I think the pass rush will pose some problems for the opposing quarterback. So I'm going to give them a win at home. It's kind of a desperate situation here. They're 3-6, and pretty much all hope is lost at this point. But a week 10 bye allows them to regroup. But week 11, Monday night at Las Vegas, essentially a nail in the coffin. I think Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly will pull the upset here. The bye's not going to help them at all. So Ashton Genty will run all over them. The Cowboys' run defense is definitely a problem. So Genty goes off. That's a loss for Dallas. And then I think in like true Dallas fashion, once they're down and out, completely irrelevant for playoff contention, now they wake up and now they start to get some irrelevant wins, mostly in division against some of their rivals. Sunday versus Philly, the Eagles are coming off that Detroit game, going to be banged up. The Cowboys pull an upset here. Week 12, that's a win, one of their few victories of the season. But week 13, Thanksgiving night versus the Chiefs, Mahomes and Kelsey will be eating turkey legs. That one's a loss in prime time. The Chiefs will definitely be winning that game. But week 14, Thursday night at Detroit, the Lions are better. They're not going to get screwed over by the refs. Give me an L for Dallas. Thursday night at Detroit, not much extra rest off the Thanksgiving matchup. But then we have a little bit of extra rest Sunday night versus Minnesota. And usually the Cowboys actually play very well and beat the Vikings in general. So I think Dak finds a way here. JJ McCarthy going to have some issues with that pass rush as well. And Micah Parsons, perhaps the MVP of the game. Give me a win for Dallas, week 15. And then Sunday morning versus the Chargers at home. Chargers are definitely better coached by far. And the Chargers will be beating the bad teams that they should. So that's an L for Dallas, their 10th of the year. And these last two games are pretty irrelevant for the standings, but they are going to make their draft pick much worse with a win. Week 17, Christmas morning at Washington is kind of irrelevant for the Commanders, actually. And then week 18 at the Giants. The Giants are tanking for Arch at this point. A win in week 18. Who cares? Cowboys at 7-10 still hit the under, in my opinion, on their 7.5 win total. And then lastly, the Giants, I think, are vying for the number one overall pick because there is no chance, in my opinion, that Brian Daboll gets this team back on track. They're not in contention for the playoff picture. Having 4 quarterbacks means they really have no quarterback, and wouldn't shock me if we saw a few starts for literally all of them. We'll start off with Russell Wilson in week 1, though. Sunday morning at Washington, a clear L. The Commanders are much, much better. And then week 2, Sunday morning at Dallas, another L. I think Russ will be seeing ghosts a little bit. Don't trust him at all. Week 3, we got Sunday night versus Kansas City, and this is the reason they're holding on to Russ. I think kind of their only shot to beat teams like the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Commanders. Their best shot, that's for sure. I just don't think it happens. Give me a loss for Washington. Yet again, they're throwing Russ under the bus. Week 4, that's where he gets benched. He loses to the Chargers. And in week 5, they pivot to Jameis Winston against his former team, the Saints. And their offense is going to go ape shit for a little bit. I do think Malik Neighbors will probably put up 250 yards here, and the Saints get torched. Jameis Winston gets the win. But Thursday night versus Philly, they're going to be more entertaining to watch. In primetime, though, Jameis Winston gets the L. He throws way too many interceptions for them to compete. Then week 7, we get one more matchup, but Sean Payton knows Jameis Winston very, very well. They lose at Denver. The altitude not going to help them at all. Abdul Carter going to be left without a sack. I think Bo Nix gets rid of the ball very quickly in that one. Then week 8, I think they hold on to Jameis a little bit longer. I think he gets benched mid-game, and they pivot to Jackson Dart at Philly in week 8. That's a loss, though. Then they come back home, and Jackson Dart gets his first official start. I do think there's a chance that they can beat the 49ers. I really don't trust the Niners that much, especially if McCaffrey has any injuries. That'll be an issue, but I'm still taking the Niners. I don't think Jackson Dart can overcome some of their problems. So another L here, only one win to show for it up to this point. And then if Jackson Dart can beat the Bears and Caleb Williams, then I think there's like a glimmer of hope. But I think they lose. I think they lose to Caleb Williams pretty bad, and at this point I do think Daboll probably loses the job, but maybe they just let him finish out the season because they really have nobody else to put in exchange for him. So they've gone this far. Let's see what happens. Dart gets another start here versus Green Bay. That's another L. And then Sunday morning at Detroit, I think he gets a concussion in this one and comes off the field. We see Tommy DeVito take over, and that's an L once again. Week 13, Monday night, we got Tommy DeVito against the Patriots, and it's actually going to be a competitive game. However, it does end in an L. So yet another L, only 1-12 through 13 weeks. A bye brings Jackson Dart on the field, but versus Washington, it does not matter. The Commanders win. Week 16, though, they play their asses off, finally get their second win of the year. Dart is tired of losing. Sunday morning versus Minnesota, they beat J.J. McCarthy. And Malik Neighbors does play better than Justin Jefferson. But week 17 at Las Vegas, that's an L. I'm going to definitely take Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly there. Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers go off. And then week 18, at this point, they want to tank. They got their late season win out of the way. They just let the Cowboys put them out of their misery. And L week 18, going to be a sad year for the Giants. 2-15 is my final prediction on their record. So this is how I envision the NFC East shaping up. I do have the Commanders winning it and representing the conference as the number 1 seed with a 13-4 record. The only team I'm actually predicting for 13 wins this year. A little spoiler alert if you made the end of the video. But then I have the Eagles barely missing it at 12-5. Those losses in week 16, week 18 do decide who wins this division. It changes hands once again. Then the Cowboys, an irrelevant 7-10 record, nothing special. Maybe they have a new coach next season. They're not going to be in contention for Arch Manning or a top pick. I believe they're going to be the number 7 pick in my rankings overall for next year's draft positioning. The 7th worst record in the NFL. But Giants at 2-15 are vying for a number 1 pick. I have them tied for number 2. I do think there's going to be a team going 1-16 or worse that does get that number 1 pick instead of the Giants. So stay tuned if you want to see who it is. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button and like the video as well. Share if you have some NFC East friends that are going to disagree. Hopefully, if you're a Commanders fan, you enjoyed this video. But that's going to be it for me. My name's Adam Riancho. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Nice and blunt.